In the quiet of this evening, let us gather our hearts and minds in reflection, guided by the wisdom of the Lord, as we delve into the tale of transformation and divine insight. May we find comfort in the understanding that our journey towards righteousness is paved with learning, compassion, and the pursuit of justice. Let this story remind us of the grace that shapes our paths and the love that directs our judgments. Today's message comes from the book Jesus in the Home by Neio, Lucio, psychographed by the medium Francisco Xavier. Chapter 10, The Reformed Judge. Since during his teaching that day, the Lord had suggested a great deal of caution when passing judgment, the disciples' conversation at Peter's house involved that very issue. "It is hard not to criticize," said Matthew sincerely, "because regularly educated people constantly have to voice their opinions as they go about their daily activities." "Yes," agreed Andrew openly, "it is not easy to do the right thing without analyzing all the details." After listening to a number of statements regarding the right to observe and correct, Jesus intervened unpretentiously. Of course, no one can fulfill the task of which they have been assigned in the divine plan of life unless they keep an eye on the path they are on by following the principles of righteousness. However, we must not incline our minds to the follies of the sentiments, so that we do not fall prey to our own impulses. We will be judged by the same measure that we use on others. Severity is answered with severity, patience with patience, kindness with kindness. After a few moments, he continued, "At the time when Israel was ruled by the great judges, there lived an austere and impetuous judge in the great city of the chosen people. He brought death and cruelty to all of those who served under his rule. Abusing the powers that had been bestowed upon him, he created tyrannical laws for punishing the smallest infractions. He added a huge number of soldiers, built many prisons, and invented numerous instruments of torture. Stifled by these strange prohibitions, the people lived under a harsh, watchful eye, as though they were just a bunch of unruly animals. They had to work, rest, and worship the Lord at times that were strictly set by the government, or risked being subjected to humiliating punishment in prison and to having to pay all sorts of heavy fines. The judge may have been ruthless, but his subordinates were even more so, due to their own innate wickedness. Now, it just so happened that when, in the middle of the night, The judge was on his way to visit one of his sons who was sick. He was taken prisoner without any respect whatsoever by a group of drunk guards who were unaware of the fact that the man they were leading to the dungeon was the very one who had opened it just a few weeks before. It did him no good to tell them who he was or to point out the honorable insignias of his office. Believing him to be a dreaded thief, they shackled him, stripped him of his belongings, and beat him mercilessly, stating that they were acting in accordance with the instructions of the great judge, who in actuality was him. It was not until the following day that the mistake was righted, after the miserable public figure had already suffered the punishment that his authority had established for everyone else. It was only then that the wretched lawgiver saw how dangerous it was to give power to cruel and ignorant subordinates, and he finally realized that constructive and blessed justice is the kind that corrects by helping and educating others in preparation for the kingdom of love amongst all peoples. After that particular event, the city took on a whole new life, because although the reformed judge was still conscientious about his job, he had erected over his court the heart of an understanding and loving father for the good of all. Outside, the stars were shining, portrayed in the serene waters of the large lake. After a long pause, the master concluded, "Only those who have learned a great deal in life through study and service, sweat and tears, as they strive to uphold the good amid the thorns of self-denial and the flowers of love, are fit to carry out justice in the Father's name." As we reflect on the story of the reformed judge, let it serve as a gentle reminder of the power of mercy, understanding, and transformation. In the stillness of the night, may we rest in the peace that comes from embracing love and justice in our hearts. Let us awaken with renewed spirits, ready to walk in the light of empathy and kindness as we continue our journey under the watchful, loving eyes of our Heavenly Father. So be it.